Hi, my name is Faku, and today I will try to answer the following questions. Why are people racist? What is racism? Racism is when people are treated unfairly because of their skin color or background. It is a kind of discrimination and it causes great harm to people. But have you ever wondered why do we have different skin tones? Let's see. You can see people with different skin tones all over the world. The development of different skin tones is evolutionary, and it's part of nature's natural selection. People living in tropical areas have darker skin in order to be protected from the sun's UV radiation. And people living in northern areas like Finland, Sweden, or Norway have lighter skin because they don't receive as much sun radiation and their bodies don't need to produce as much melanin. So melanin is the one that determines how dark our skin is going to be. People with light skin have little melanin, and people with darker skin have much more melanin. You inherit the color of your skin from your parents. It's in your genes. Now that we know this, let's go back in time so we can understand better the origins of racism. Racism has a long history. Hundreds of years ago, some European countries had colonies around the world. They took control of the land and of the native people living there. The people in power were usually white. The slave trade at that time was another factor. The Europeans took black people from Africa to the new territories and forced them to work as slaves. Many years ago, people were treated unfairly in the USA because of the color of their skin, and they had to live in different communities. White children and black children were not allowed to go to the same school or eat at the same restaurant. During the 1950s, the buses were segregated too. White passengers sat in the front, while black passengers sat in the back. The civil rights movement wanted to change this. One day, a passenger called Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat to a white passenger and she was arrested. People who supported Rosa stopped using buses. Finally, in 1964, all people could sit and eat in the same places. Thank you, Rosa, you were so brave. One of the most important persons of this movement was called Martin Luther. He was also an activist. He made many speeches, and the most famous was called I Have a Dream. After this, he won a Nobel Prize for successful efforts. Another famous racist group in the USA history was the Ku Klux Klan or KKK. The goal of this terrorist group was to create fear through violence. They believe in the supremacy of the whites. But racism is not ancient history. It's still going on. Only a few years ago, a new movement started when Trayvon Martin, a black boy of 17 years old, was killed in Florida by a white man because he looked suspicious. People were very angry and started some protests all around the USA. This movement is called Black Lives Matter. The Black Lives Matter movement works to fight racism and violence towards black people and help them to be treated fairly. In 2020, a man named George Floyd was unjustly killed by the police. The Black Lives Matter movement organized protests all around the world, and these protests helped to make more visible the need for justice and change. For example, police officers were charged in Floyd's death. Most people agree that racism is bad and that we need to stand together against it, and that everybody needs to be treated the same. This is called equality. Luckily, now we can see a lot of anti-racist campaigns in TV, social media, and magazines. I'm going to share with you some of my favorites. This is a Crayola campaign, and in this crayon box you can get all skin tones, not only the pinky one. It is called Colors of the World, and I think it is amazing. The same message is in the Band-Aid campaign that started to sell all colors of Band-Aids and not only the ones for white people. Finally, one of my favorite campaigns is a message that Adidas and Nike made together when George Floyd was killed. On Twitter, Nike posted, Let's all be part of the change, and Adidas retweeted that message and put, "Together is how we move forward. Together is how we make change." So, what do I think about racism? Well, I think racism is wrong and it should stop forever. And I don't really understand why some people still think the color of the skin matters at all. Any color. If the color of your eyes or the color of your hair doesn't matter, why should the color of your skin matter? I believe that we are all equal and that love is what gets us together. So, like its president says, you should treat everyone as if it's their birthday.